Are you ready? It's time for the Beastcast. Always nice and loud on the intro. Welcome to the Beastcast. Episode, what is this, 27? Holy crap, we are just cruising through the Beastcast. So we're 7 weeks into the Beastcast now, Raven.
That is amazing.
As always, I have Mr. Raven Scones here.
What's up?
So this is a very special episode this week, mainly because for the first time in probably forever, we both actually saw a movie in the movie theater, not together. Is that
Amazing.
correct, right?
Yeah.
And so you went to the movie theater yesterday. I went to the movie theater on Thursday. And what was your movie theater experience like? So you said you didn't get any popcorn and anything like that? Why?
Because I knew that sometimes it's best if you just don't have anything during a long movie.
So, okay. So I feel like I'm kind of like the opposite. I feel like I kind of need to have something. Like for longer movies, at least. So like, if it's like, okay, so here's the thing. If the movie's like American Psycho, where it's like an hour and 40 minutes, or it's like that 65 movie, I can deal without popcorn or deal without like a snack. But when it starts hitting over that 2-hour mark, like when you start getting to like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood territory, like Quentin Tarantino, Martin Scorsese, where it's like 2 hours and 30 minutes, 3 hours and 30 minutes, you know, I kind of feel like I need like something to munch on. Like I feel like it just kind of, that's a long period of time, you know?
I grew up as one of those people who watched TV shows that had hour-long episodes.
Yeah.
And for me, I would actually sit there and just like watch up to 6 episodes and then be like, I'm hungry. So that's like 6 hours of just eating and drinking nothing while watching something until I felt anything. So it's kind of like my body has just been conditioned because of the binge watching of shows.
See, and like the thing about the shows that I would watch too is I would binge watch, but I didn't need to watch hour-long shows. So like way back in the day, when when Hulu first became popular and Family Guy was like, you know, oh, you can watch every episode of Family Guy? No way. Like that was like unfathomable, you know? Like to just be able to watch all that. So I would binge watch those like over and over and over and over, you know, for like the longest time. And it was nice because like you could just sit and like as a child at least, you feel like you never get hungry, you know, like your body can do anything, you know. So like you'd sit there, you wouldn't have to use the bathroom, you wouldn't have to drink, you wouldn't have to eat. You'd literally sit there for like hours and you realize that 12 o'clock became 7 o'clock and you're like, what the, you know. That's why gaming as a child was so much better too, because like literally never bathroom breaks. I feel like maybe that's the reason why I'm the way I am now. Maybe that's why my metabolism's so bad. Literally eat nothing. It never got a chance to actually work.
Yeah, that's probably why.
I literally can't. My metabolism is so bad. I literally cannot eat like more than like it. So some people like skinny people with like really good metabolisms, they can literally, like my sister, she can literally binge eat like so much food and she'll like barely gain any weight. It's insane. I don't know how that works.
Are you jealous?
I actually am jealous of my sister's metabolism because my sister can essentially just eat like crap all the time. Well, if I eat like crap once, I have essentially done the exact same thing of her eating crap for a week. And it's like, wow, that's crazy.
You got to build up your metabolism, bro.
Actually, when I go back to Minnesota, I actually will be talking to my doctor because we were going to do metabolism pills, but she was like, well, let's just see how, you know, like how college treats it. Because, you know, you'll fatten up at college, you know, because, you know, you kind of are forced to eat like crap. And if you don't eat like crap, it's like really expensive and a lot of work, you know. So like most
Yeah.
times people just take the easy way out, which I mean, you don't really have time to not take the easy way out of that. So, and yeah, it has not gotten any better. But the weird thing is like despite me having a bad metabolism, I've been the same weight for like the past like 10 years almost. Since like 2015, 2014, I've been the same weight. I've been like 200 pounds.
Well, I mean, that's good. You're not gaining, you're not losing, you're staying the same. That's better than either, really.
I mean, yeah. The only thing is I mean, even for my height, I'm a tad hefty, but I don't think that's a problem. I think I'd rather be a tad hefty than a tad skinny. Because being skinny is not good for you. Like being really skinny. That's what some people forget. Some people forget that if it being like, that's like the whole thing of anorexia. Like, you don't want to be 130 pounds when you're 6'2". Trust me, it's not worth it. Your
You don't
body.
want to be Asmongold or XQC.
Yeah, I don't know how XQC lives, to be honest. He's like my sister, where he's got like that insane metabolism because he will eat like crap. And
Drugs.
like, yeah, oh yeah, probably that too. A lot
He
of
takes
cooking.
Adderall.
Well, yeah, I mean, I take Adderall too,
Adderall
but
speeds that. No, I mean, like this dude, he said that he's taken 3 times the daily dose because he's felt that he's needed it. Like he's actually admitted to it. I think it's like 30 milligram pills that he'll take. So yeah, his metabolism is in overdrive because of so much speed abuse. Because that's essentially what Adderall is.
well, yeah, well, yeah. So like, for somebody like with ADHD, that works backwards. So like, if he has ADHD, then he's probably not speed abusing. He's probably doing the opposite. But for somebody like me, sugar slows me down immediately rather than giving me a sugar rush. And same thing with Adderall. So for Adderall, like what Adderall will do is for people who don't have like ADHD, it will essentially like make you like really hyperactive. Make you stay awake, make you do stuff like that. Like college students love it because they can study and stay up all night. With Adderall. But afterwards, like when the Adderall wears off, you are drowsy. But the thing is, Adderall just essentially gives you that drowsiness right away if you have ADHD because you just skip that whole getting you sugar high, like getting you that high. So
I
that's
hate that too because it's
that.
kind of like I'd love to enjoy what everybody else is able to enjoy for a moment.
hmm But the thing is too is it kind of sucks because you don't really have an option. That's why Adderall is meant to be taken in very smaller doses, like usually around 30 milligrams, because um, that way you don't immediately just pass away. Like you just don't pass out, but you're still functioning. You're just not functioning at such a high level.
Yeah, I stopped taking pills.
The only pills I take, well, I take one for anxiety, which is actually crazy good. Um, it's helped me a lot, I should say. Not crazy good. I'm not saying popping pills is a good thing, but um,
Okay, okay, bro. Dr. House over here.
have you
I
ever?
just stopped taking them because I hated the way I felt on them,
Mm-hmm.
and I obviously there was a problem off of them, but I was just like, I play so many. This is me at 14. Okay, when I made this decision, I was just like, I play a lot of these video games. Pretty sure ADHD is like a video game. I just need to adapt and overcome, and that's exactly what I started doing. And then after about 8 years, it worked.
Yeah. So
Longest boss battle of my life.
it. Yeah. That is a way to overcome it. I'm taking a very small amount of Lexapro for social anxiety, which is actually been really helpful because I can take less and less. So before I was having to take it every day, and now I am no longer taking it every day. I only take it every other day, and I'm slowly like the whole point of it. My doctor wanted me to. The whole reason was my doctor. She was like, okay, so these pills are gonna start you off, and they're gonna slowly work you into those social encounters. And the goal is like the thing about with anxiety is, some people they get it to the point where anxiety is not overcomable. You need help, like all the time. But for most people, like I would say probably about 40% of people, anxiety with help you can slowly overcome it, and then you won't have to worry about it. And that was my thing. Was I ended up getting anxiety in 2019. So for the past 4 years, I've been slowly taking pills, to get off of it. And so slowly the goal is to not need them at all, which is nice. So that was like my little battle with it. And then I took Adderall for the longest. I don't take Adderall at college anymore just because I need that hyperactivity. And I can live with it. It's not the end of the world. I also go to bed at a reasonable time. So that was my problem, is I would stay up until like 5 in the morning when I was like 7 years old, because I just couldn't sleep because I was so hyperactive. My mom literally, it was at one point, like, I swear it was so bad that she literally was like, I can't deal with this. Like, I would literally never go to bed. Like, I remember I would literally, like, stay up and I would watch, you remember, like, those weird Adult Swim TV shows?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like Children's Hospital?
Yeah.
Yeah, those ones. Like, I remember those vividly just because I would stay up so late watching those because my body just would not let me go to bed. It was really weird. But yeah, so before we move into our big segmento of this week's episode, so me and Raven, we both went and watched the movie Killers of the Flower Moon. It is Martin Scorsese's, I believe he said it's his last film. He's not making any more movies after this. He did a short film. He did a short film with Timothée Chalamet that will be releasing today, actually. But most people don't really watch short films, so sadly. But apparently it's pretty good. So this is supposedly Martin Scorsese's last film. So if you want to go see a Scorsese film in theaters, this is going to have to be your opportunity. Whether you hear good reviews or bad reviews about the movie, if you just want to see Scorsese in theaters and say you saw him in theaters, like his work, this will be your last opportunity more than likely. Unless there's reruns, which of course there always is. Theaters always will do that to try and get money into the door. My theater, I'm grabbing something. My theater back home, they're actually doing a rerun weekend this week. So they opened up 2 new theaters, and they're actually having like a film festival for like $35. You can watch all these old movies, not like really old movies, but like popular old movies, from each decade. And then I think there's a couple new films that are premiering there too. It's really cool. So yeah, doing stuff like that.
Pretty cool.
Like, so that's like how most people will be able to experience it in theaters, but you'll never be able to experience it, like as an opening, like this is a premiere, like this is a new movie, So before we get into that, Raven, you talked to me about, you saw, so I didn't take one for the team this week because I was actually just planning on watching this movie. I didn't realize that Raven actually was going to go plan on seeing this movie, so that ended up changing our plans. So Raven, you watched The Expendables 4 too, and you also watched a couple other movies. So why don't you talk about that? What was that like?
The Expendables 4 has got to be one of the most laughable movies I have ever seen in my entire life. Now, I know that everybody has different opinions about like the first 3. Okay, but for me, honestly, the first 3 were actually good, in my opinion. Like, because I know what I'm in for. I'm in for just a bunch of wacky time with old timers who just want to just relive a few glory days with a simple plot and some just really fun action scenes. Funny enough, you'd think that would be this movie. It's not. This movie's so bad. I don't know who gave it a budget. I don't know what Sylvester Stallone was thinking. But whoever was in charge of this movie needs to be fired. Okay, so there's a moment in like the first 5 minutes of the film where Sylvester Stallone's going to Jason Statham's house, okay, to go pick him up and tell him there's a job for them. And he's knocking on the door, and it's switching between an angle between him knocking on the door and then like one of those little peephole angles, like somebody's looking through the door peephole at him. The door peephole angle has a green screen behind him of the town. Why do you have a green screen for a peephole shot? It makes no sense. Here's the funniest hot take about this movie, to be honest. Megan Fox and Jason Statham actually carried the film.
Really?
Yeah, they're boyfriend, girlfriend in this film. And as much as I thought Megan Fox was going to bring down this film, her relationship with Jason's character, that whole thing, that's literally the only fucking thing that carried this film. It's the only thing that carried this film. The rest of this film is garbage. It is so bad. Effects were horrible. And what pisses me off the most is the bad guy in the film is the guy who's the main actor in the two Japanese movies, The Raid and The Raid 2. I don't know if you've seen The Raid.
That sounds very familiar. I feel like I wanted to watch one of those movies, and you actually gave me a copy. Or am I thinking of a different movie?
I don't know if I gave you a copy, but maybe.
Is it the guy from Bullet Train, the old guy who voices Hanzo in Overwatch?
I don't know what he picked.
I'll look it up. Keep going.
His name is Aiko Yu.
Oh no, yeah, it's not him. Oh, I know this guy. Oh my God, Raven. Do you know what movie this guy played in? He played in the Mortal Kombat movie, and Snake Eyes.
Oh.
He plays Snake Eyes in G.I. Joe, in the live action universe that somehow exists that nobody remembers. Anyways.
Okay, well that's good. At least you know of him. Okay, yes. If you've watched The Raid Redemption and The Raid 2, okay, this guy's acting is phenomenal, and his action, he's, to me, honestly, I kind of called him the next mix between Jackie Chan and Jet Li. Okay, like they should have casted him as Shang-Chi just a little bit. He such phenomenal. Okay, they put him as the villain in this movie. Barely any action, barely any. There's only one moment of him having action near the beginning of the film, and then completely waste his talent, completely waste his time. This whole movie, I'm gonna be honest with you, is the biggest embarrassment in the world. This actually looks like a project of quality that me and you would try to make to try to see if we could make it in Hollywood. That's how bad it is.
Oh God, no way.
I'm not even joking with you. Like after the podcast, I will screen share how bad this stupid ass movie is. Okay, so the whole thing is predictable for me. Okay, the reason why I liked the first Expendables movie was the premise behind why it was being made. So Sylvester Stallone felt like there were people like Terry Crews and, kind of a bit Arnold Schwarzenegger until, Terminator movies became more popular. But people like him and Terry Crews, who they were great 90s action dudes, but the era of cheesy one-liners and people who can't literally make Oscar-worthy performances, their time is done. Not just because they're getting older, but because they just don't have that ability. So he wanted to bring together a bunch of just action heroes and make like just a story for them to show off that they still got it, but with an actual story. The first one was of I believe like some Colombian third world dictator that they had to bring down that was ruining a country. And it had some really good scene. I mean, that was quality there. Like I was watching it and I was all like, dang, look at that. Rambo's back. And then, you had Terry Crews doing his thing. Second movie had Chuck Norris in it, making funny Chuck Norris jokes, but they actually made sense. And like when you watch them, it was just like, yeah, I'm going because like this was the time when you could learn to be brain dead and just enjoy the cool dude on the screen. They took that premise too seriously. This movie's brain dead and there's actually no cool dude on the screen. In fact, here's the funny part about it. This felt like the Meg 3.
No way.
Because the whole movie has nobody showing off. This is literally the premise of the movie, and I don't even have to spoil it. Something happens with the first mission in the beginning of the movie that goes wrong. So they want to get revenge. They go to a ship to get revenge. Everybody gets caught except for Jayson Statham. Jayson Statham saves them all in one heroic 30-minute long scene of him killing everybody. But then when he starts to fail at the saving part because he becomes overwhelmed by too many bad guys, the reason they were there to get revenge turned out to be a joke because the guy was actually still alive. And then the movie ends with poor CGI, them getting off a boat, and then of course Jason and Megan Fox doing it.
So you meant
It's
the
the whole
Meg 2, by
front.
the way, right? Not the Meg 3, right? Unless you're just unless you're from the future. Are you
No.
spoiling the Meg 3?
I meant this could have been the Meg
Meg 3.
3.
Okay, so you're
Yeah.
saying this could have been
Yeah.
like the final of the trilogy.
Yeah, this could have, without even a megalodon. Yes, this felt like I was watching some spin-off of, oh, this is what he does in his free time before, he goes to face megalodons. This is exactly what this movie felt like. But worse, this made the Meg 2 actually look like a masterpiece. And it made the past 3 movies look like they were Oscar worthy. This movie was crap. Like halfway, you remember me messaging you. I was halfway through this film, and I was sending you gifs of Dr. Disrespect screaming, "What the hell is this game about?" This is literally the movie. The whole movie was horrible. It made Fast X look like a movie you want to pay to go see.
I did go pay to see Fast X.
Yeah, me too. But like, it made it. It's so bad.
Yeah. No. I actually I knew who Iko Uwais or whatever his name is, Uwas. Because I actually watched that botched. I'm looking at it right now. This botched Netflix series called Lou Assassin. I watched this.
Oh yeah.
It was horrible. I remember watching this though, and he's the main character, and then he's got an uncle who's like a bad guy. Like every plot of every one of these movies ever. Just looking at this, I can tell you, like, yeah, this is about as good as the CGI gets. It's horrible. He's a great. Here's the thing though, he is a great stuntman though. He can do so much. He's so good at fighting and so good at doing stunts. So
That's why I want people to watch The Raid,
yeah,
because you will never see a better fight film than that. And I mean it. When you come out of The Raid, or when you're done watching The Raid, there will be no movie that will ever itch that type of excellence in your entire life.
and see, and here's the thing too about this actor in particular. What's his name? Iko Uwais. He plays Snake Eyes, so like, that's what I kind of remember him from the most. But he's really good at like doing fights. So like he's like kind of like Adam Driver in Jason Statham, but like Jackie Chan, right? Where like he's not that good at acting, but he is so good at choreography, like actually fighting, like the choreography, like actually being able to like produce and make fights look real and actually do stuff. He could. I would. I will tell you this. He would have played a great Shang-Chi, I think.
Oh yeah.
I think the thing is though, I do like the guy who plays Shang-Chi.
So do I. Yeah.
He's pretty good.
They need to have him then as a villain.
That could be a good idea. They also need to put Jackie Chan in this freaking movie because this whole thing is based off of Jackie Chan's fighting style. So
Like, I'm telling you, The Expendables 4 is horrible. Don't ever see this unless you just really want. You know what? If you're just having an irresponsible night where you're kind of intoxicated and you have a bunch of friends that are bored and you want to put on a movie, but you don't want to put on one that, you want to watch and savor sober, okay? This is the movie to put on. You won't remember it. I still actually had to refresh my memory of this movie by going through it at times 4 before the podcast, just so that I could remember, because I literally forgot this movie. Like, I remember I watched it, but I actually forgot this movie.
Really?
You won't remember this movie. I promise you. You'll watch this movie, you'll sit there and go, dang, this movie was crap. And then like 2 hours from now, you'll sit down and you'll go, wait a minute, did I actually watch this? That's how forgettable this movie is. But yet I can remember crap about the first 2. 3.
That's
3
when
was kind of meh.
good and one's bad though.
Yeah, that's true.
So, another thing too that I find really funny about Shang-Chi, is Simu Liu or whatever, Simu Liu or however you say his name is.
Yeah.
He called out Marvel themselves, and Marvel was mad at him. They threatened to like not like cast him as Shang-Chi again because he called them out because in what's it called? Do you remember that Moon Knight TV show on Disney Plus?
Yeah.
Yeah, so in that TV show in one of the episodes they like are using Chinese, you know? They're talking about like everybody learns like in this like cult everybody learns like multiple languages. In like the guy like he starts speaking Chinese to the one guy and it's like really botched, like it's fake, like they're essentially just going like xiao xiao hao, you know, like that. Like they're just saying like fake stuff, and he called them out for it. And Marvel was like, "Whoa, you're lucky you're even here. We could have casted anybody else to replace you." And it's like, "Dang, dude, bunch of assholes."
Dang.
But no, so yeah, so what would you rate this on our Beastcast scale?
It's a 2 out of 10.
Holy shit! Oh
The
my
only
God.
reason why it got 2 points is because of Jason Statham and Megan Fox.
One for each.
Funny enough, I thought she was going to drag the whole film down. She was actually the only reason I kept watching.
Was it just because of her looks, or was it because of her acting, Raven?
It was because I was just so fascinated to see her in a movie like this, actually. I thought it was going to be like what they were hinting at in the beginning of the movie, where she's just the girlfriend of Jason Statham's character, and she's pissed off that he's going off on another dangerous mission again. She has some really funny lines that I actually really, really thought were funny. The only funny parts of this film. And like, I just was like, dang, okay, well, I guess these first 5 minutes of her have sold me on her performance in this. And I want to remain watching now, because her and Jason Statham's relationship in the movie was the only reason why I kept watching. There was actually no reason to keep watching this film after the first 20 minutes.
That is sad.
I'm so glad I never went to a theater to see this, because if I did, I promise you, if that wasn't the case that I just stated with Megan Fox and Jason's character, I would have walked out 20 minutes in, and I would have been walking home depressed. I spent $5 to see it.
Another depressing thing I'm looking at now, I like this movie, Snake Eyes. It did horrible in the box office. Look, here's the thing. It did 40 million in the box office USD. And look at this. This is a movie either people hate or love. It has like almost all 5 stars or almost all 1 stars. There's like no in between. People either literally hate this movie or they love this movie. I feel like that's how all the G.I. Joe movies are, though. Like, do you remember the Rock G.I. Joe movies?
I remember G.I. Joe Retaliation that The Rock was in, because he wasn't in the first G.I. Joe movie.
He was in this one, the Retaliation one.
Yeah, that movie was amazing.
Really? You like G.I. Joe?
No, I was joking. That was sarcasm.
I was
You can
gonna
watch
say-
it for free on YouTube, though.
Oh, shout out to that. Dude, you know what's really crazy is I can't believe they're actually having the Transformers universe combined with the G.I. Joe universe.
That is so...
Like, that's insane to me. Is that not insane to you?
It is, and that's why during that fight scene when Mirage became that mech suit for him to wear,
Yeah.
that I literally was like, dang, that suit gives me G.I. Joe vibes. And then the end of the movie is literally like, oh yeah, we want you to join G.I. Joe. And I was just like, what? Oh, you're not, like, you can't do that. You can't do that.
How would you
feel? Because now you have to explain where they've been this entire time.
Yeah. How would you feel about joining the G.I. Joe Optimus Prime?
You know, that kind of...
What is G.I. Joe going to do in the Ultimate Universe? Like, the robots, like, think about it, like, the Transformers, they're, like, universal beings, right? And then you just got these fucking humans. Like, what are they going to do? They ain't going to do nothing.
I'm going to be honest. Combining the universes like that actually insults all the characters in G.I. Joe.
Honestly,
because
yes.
The whole reason, even if you watch the crappy one with Channing Tatum, the first one, Rise of Cobra, the whole reason why you got invited to G.I. Joe was because you had a particular 1% top set of skills that made you worthy to be part of this elite task force. All this dude did was have a transformer wrap itself around him into a mech suit. That's not G.I. Joe worthy. He's not one. He can't fight outside of that. Like he doesn't have any skill aside from maybe repairing electronics, but they never went into further detail on how advanced his skill with electronics and putting them back together is. So what 1% is there even to have to invite him?
Yeah,
To steal his mech suit.
It's so weird. Wait, the Raid 3, Raven, do you see this? Untitled Raid. Oh no, it was never made.
Oh man.
I kind of got my hopes up. I was like, no way they're gonna do this after like 10 years. So yeah, okay, so 2 out of 10. Jeez, that is crazy.
2 out of 10, and I don't regret that. And I'm not even memeing either. If I ever show up to anybody's place and they say, no matter if I just drove across the country to see them, and they're like, "Hey, bro, we're gonna pop in Expendables 4," I will drive home. Don't care. I'm never watching this film again. I don't want to see this film again. And honestly, this film didn't even have to be called The Expendables. I would have watched the film if it was just Megan Fox and Jason Statham doing like a Black Ops mission together. That would have been more enjoyable than what I got.
Do you think there should be a 5th Expendables movie?
Not with whoever the hell did this one. Like, I know Sylvester Stallone is kind of in charge of the projects a bit, but he didn't direct this one completely or produce it. I don't know who the hell it was.
Maybe he just needs to step away. I think his dementia's getting to him.
I think it's getting to him. I think he needs to step away because it's like it was bad. Don't see this movie. Don't go see something worth it.
Speaking of worth it, when we come back, I promise we're going to talk about a movie that is definitely at least better than a 2 out of 10 on our Beastcast scale. Our next segment will be about the new Martin Scorsese film. Are you ready for this? Raven, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. When we come back, we'll talk about it. I have never seen The Social Network, actually, at all.
Dude, I remember watching that. That was funny.
Oh, man, that freaking movie. I just seen the clip. You know the clip I sent it to you where he's like, oh, he's locked in. He just like slams the, like, Mr. Spider-Man slams the keyboard, you know?
Yeah.
Or the laptop, I guess. So, okay. Oh, welcome back to the Beastcast, by the way. So Raven, tell me about it. So does that movie actually, is Mark Zuckerberg actually the bad guy in that movie? Like, is he actually in the wrong? Like, did they actually, like, just be a douchebag and just dilute his shares, or what? Like, I don't understand the point of it.
Yes, he did. Okay, so essentially he started out helping out those 2 Harvard students, what was supposed to be a dating website. He saw the potential to make it much more. So he literally stole their work, their source code, and their coding itself, and he transformed it into the earlier stages of Facebook and then went live with it behind their backs without even telling them.
Was that the Winklevoss twins or whatever?
Yeah, there were some twins, some Ivy League entitled brats. Mm-hmm. Not saying they deserved it, just they were kind of bratty, and because they weren't even putting in work to it either. Like the movie shows that they put in some work. I mean, okay, the movie's probably biased. They probably did, but he basically took it and just made it into Facebook, and then these twins see everybody going around like, hey, what do you want? What's on your computer? Oh, we're on the Facebook, not just Facebook, the Facebook. And they realize, bro, that's our idea. And Mark Zuckerberg's like, no, it wasn't. You wanted a dating website. I made a social interaction website. It's totally different. Like, but it uses our code. All right, then I'll just delete your version of the code and write my own.
So like, where does that guy come in? When does that guy come in? Like Andrew Garfield's character. What is he?
He is the friend of Mark Zuckerberg, and he helps with, I forget how he contributes to Mark Zuckerberg. They were friends. I forget how they contribute. I think his character helps with the building blocks of Facebook in terms of like getting them the servers and the companies that are willing to host the web page, making it more popular, advertisement. And then his character was planning on doing something. It's been a while since I've seen it, sadly, but his character was planning on doing something, and Mark Zuckerberg was just all like, oh no, you have no piece of the pie anymore. And you have no shares. You can't cash out shit. Goodbye. And like complete backstab of a friend.
So Mark Zuckerberg in the end is actually the bad guy. Sort of.
Of course he is. Have you ever looked at him? He's a lizard.
Yeah, he is a lizard, dude. That picture, I had that picture actually on my old account. I had an alt account on Instagram, or not on Instagram, on Discord called Spoon109. You know, like that I would just stream myself playing Clash Royale to, and its picture was literally the picture of Mark Zuckerberg, outside here, Mark Zuckerberg. Ooh, they should make it. They should make a movie about him versus Elon. That'd be hilarious.
Dude, yes.
Where's the picture? This one. The animated ones. Uh-huh. The ones where they like they'll memeify it. Or like, bruh. Dude, this guy, he's got so much freaking sunscreen on. He's gotta be a lizard.
Dude, I look, here's the thing. I am 100%. Look, I don't care if I get sued. I'm going to say it. I 100% believe that dude is not real.
He's got to be like an AI or something.
He's a lizard. He's a lizard human. Dude, they exist. Lizard humanoids exist. He's one of them, okay? You can't tell me he's not. This dude is too creepy. He's unnatural, okay? He's like Jeffrey Epstein. It's not normal.
They're just... What is this, dude? Who did this? Who did this? It's a picture of the Joker surfing versus his picture with him on the... Oh my gosh. You know what, though? I will say this. I would love to see Zuckerberg kick Elon Musk's ass in that fight that they're having in the Coliseum.
Okay, I need you to trust me for a moment. I know you hate it, but can you go to Bing for a moment?
Bing? Oh, jeez. All right, yeah.
Is this part of the podcast right now?
Sure. I don't care.
Are you recording right now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Hi, everybody. Yeah, we're just.
I said that. I said welcome back to the Beastcast like 3 minutes.
I thought you were joking.
No, yeah, it's been 4 minutes.
No, it's fine.
Wait, okay, so
go to Bing.
Yeah, I'm on Bing.
Oh, I can't see it. You're not on the same window as your Mark Zuckerberg.
Oh my gosh, Bing is its own thing.
Yeah, Bing. Go to Bing. Type. Click on the chat, the top left. Chat. Yeah. Okay. Click on it again. There you go. Now type in the Ask Me Anything. Just type in create me an image of Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg fighting it out Rocky Balboa style.
How do you spell Balboa?
Balboa. You got it. You're good. Yeah. That's not.
I don't know how to.
It doesn't matter. It'll know what you mean. Okay, it's AI.
No. I gotta sign in. Oh,
dang it!
Hold on. I'll do it. I'll do it just for you. What is this? Wait.
I don't know.
So wait, can I just copy this and put it into this, into the image creator? Oh, I'm getting doxxed. I have a Microsoft account. Yes. Why am I not staying signed in? That is stupid. Content warning. This prompt has been blocked.
Oh my gosh. Hold on. This can't be. Hold on. We need to trick it. Some people have found out if you use a thesaurus and you type in different words, you get the same result. This is so sad. I have an idea. What if you typed in, hold on, I'm going to try it on myself.
Going at it.
Create me an image of the CEO of Twitter boxing the CEO of Facebook in a pay-per-view match of the century.
It's meta. It's not Facebook anymore.
Well,
It's Meta.
it still knows. It knows. Trust me. It doesn't. You don't have to be precise. It's actually creating the image. That's not the CEO of. That is. That's him boxing the Ivy League twins. That's not the CEO of Twitter, idiot.
My image is generating, though. What the Who is this? What the heck? What is this? Who is this? What? Dude, no way. I gotta post this on screen. I can't do this. Oh, no, it's the wrong screen. Hold on. Display capture. Get the right
Which
display.
one's Elon and which one's Mark Zuckerberg?
I don't know.
Who got the tan?
Dude, what is this?
For people listening, it spawned two buff dudes in an arena
With suits. And one of them's
suits.
black.
One of them's a balding-ish black, and the other one is what looks like a Greek dude.
It's a Greek dude holding the Twitter logo, and the other guy's holding like a camera that's shaped like a plane. What is this? This is horrible. This is so... Okay, hold on. What if we... Come on, it's gotta let me just do, like, Elon Musk. There's no way it won't do this. Give it to me. I'll try to create that. Oh, dude. That's so unfair. Okay, create me an image of Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg going at it. What the... Stop. Why is it in caps lock? At it. Rocky Balboa style.
Okay, hold on. I forgot to type in create an image. I just for fun, I wanted to see if it would make a Disney movie picture of Elon Musk dominating the world. And I forgot to type in create me an image, and now it's writing me an entire plot to it. Oh, and it added the Musk versus... Okay, hold on, you gotta let me read this. That sounds like an interesting movie idea. Here is a possible plot summary. Elon Musk, the visionary entrepreneur and founder of SpaceX, Tulsa, Neuralink, and the Boring Company. I have no idea what the Boring Company is. Has a secret plan. Oh. Has a secret plan to take over the world. He believes that humanity is doomed unless it becomes a multi-planetary species and merges with artificial intelligence. To achieve his goals, he uses his vast wealth and influence to manipulate governments, corporations, and public opinion. He also secretly develops a network of satellites, rockets, tunnels, and brain implants that he intends to use to control the world's resources and population. However, not everyone is on board with his vision. Mark Zuckerberg, the CEO of Facebook, the world's largest social media platform, is one of his main rivals. Zuckerberg sees Musk as a threat to his own power and influence, and he fears that Musk's plan will endanger the freedom and privacy of billions of people. He also suspects that Musk is behind a series of cyber attacks and sabotage incidents that have targeted Facebook and its allies. The conflict between the two tech titans escalate into a global war, with each side mobilizing their loyal followers, allies, and assets. The fate of the world hangs in the balance as Musk and Zuckerberg face off in a final showdown, a pay-per-view boxing match of the century. Who will win? Who will lose? And what will be the consequence for humanity? Find out in the Disney movie Musk vs. Suck.
No fucking way. That is insane. Dude, AI is disgusting, man.
The battle for the world. Dang it. It literally will not allow me to create anything with either of them, even when I leave one of the names of them out.
I know! It's so dumb. They must have, like, Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg, like, banned. Oh, man. That's gonna be the death of us. That AI learning right there. is going to be the end of humanity. Anyways, so we got a little off topic, but I love it.
I love it. I'm sorry.
No, it's great because we were going to talk about the Killers of the Flower Moon, but I think we can save that for the finale section. So Raven, tell me about Saw X. You watched Saw X finally. What did you think of Saw X?
I loved it. I started to not like the Saw movies after 1 and 2 because they started just to become mindless gore fests. But this one, like, my favorite scene is when he's watching that one custodian in the hospital room and the dude's going through the guy's drawers. Obviously, he wants to steal his stuff. And then he kind of like notices that John Kramer is watching him, you know, as an old guy. And he puts the stuff back in the drawer and John Kramer's like, good choice. Yeah. After he just imagined it,
ripping his eyeballs out.
Yeah. And it's just kind of like, this dude, like, you want to hate this guy because he'll see somebody do an action that they probably could be redeemed from, and he puts them into like a horrific game to pay for that sin. And it's kind of like you want to call him a psychopath, and then you want to call him crazy, but then you want to also cheer him on in this movie when he gets duped by these people pretending to be these saviors to the medical profession because they can cure anybody, and you just have to pay $250,000 and life-saving stuff. And like, when I saw him realize he got duped, when he took off the bandage off of his head thinking he had surgery that saved him from his brain tumor, and he saw that no incisions were ever made and his hair is there, I actually got just as angry as he did. And I was like, you know what?
Dude, I did
bastards.
too. No, I literally, like, you can, that's how you know a movie is good, when you can feel, sorry for interrupting, but you can feel, like, the how a character is feeling. That's when you know the movie is just perfect.
Mm-hmm. And the only one I felt bad for was that young girl, Gabrielis. Okay, mm-hmm. Like, she didn't really partake in it. She was just doing it to earn money for, obviously, drugs, but we know that he punishes people who take drugs. So I guess it kind of fits into his whole thing, but she never warned him either. She also
won her game, too.
Yeah, she won her game only to be killed.
Yep, not by John.
Yeah, not by John. John started advocating for her, but it's kind of like this, dang, like, I really felt bad for that girl, because it's like, she seemed like one of those where wrong place, wrong time. She took the job just to get money when she might not have been. I mean, maybe she was part of this crew the whole time, but it just seemed like this lady was going location to location and hiring whatever scum she could find to sell the operation to all these different people. So they might not have been permanently part of her huge group. They were just like, as she called them, the loose ends. So it's kind of like this girl, she just wanted money for drugs, and this was going to make it by, and she's young, and she knows she's screwing up in life, and it's kind of like, dang, can't you have like just a tiny bit of mercy? But to be fair, I think John Kramer knew that, because she did on Jigsaw, because now when he's doing these games, he's, you know, I call like two different identities, Jigsaw. Yeah. When I feel personally that he knew that, and by Jigsaw's own standards, I feel like her game was pretty easy.
Oh, absolutely.
And because he knew that it was easy, she'd be able to get out of it, she would 100% survive, and this would be like a lesson learned to her, whereas the other ones literally had to take off limbs and brain matter to win.
Yeah, and like, yeah, compared to like that one, like where he's literally having to cut open his own brain, you know, with a mirror, and then she's just got to like move out of the way of like the radiate, or what is it? I guess radiation
It wa-
beamer. We'll just call it that.
yeah.
Um, I think her game was easier, because I think he punished them based on how much they actually fucked with him. For example, the one guy was literally like pretending to be a surgeon, So it was like, that was like that whole thing, and um, the thing about the movie was too is the twists in that movie are just insane. Like it just I
Oh
feel like
yeah.
this is gonna be one of those movies that you don't need to watch. First off, you don't really need to watch more than one or two of the Saw movies to understand anything. But another thing too that you also don't need to watch to understand it, you could just watch the movie by itself, and just you'll still get the same understanding of the film. I feel like I feel like this is a movie you could put into like analyzing like into a college class, like the like a psychoanalysis of the character, and
Mm-hmm.
like of like John, because think about it, John's not really, he's the main character of the movie, but he's not really a hero, but he's not really a villain. He's more of an anti-hero. So I mean, in the first Saw movies, he's the villain. I mean, Jigsaw is the villain. Like
Mm-hmm.
even though they've all done wrong things and they've done bad things. It's still you're rooting for the main character. So the villain, even if it is an anti-hero, is the villain. It's the opposition of the main character. But in this movie, he is the main character, which is an odd way of looking at it. Where you have the villain, like the main villain. Like, think about it. Could you imagine a Scream movie from the perspective of the killers? Like that's odd to
Mm-hmm.
me. Like from that perspective, like that's something that I feel like I haven't seen too much with horror movies before. I know like the Batman tries to do that, like with at the beginning of the film with the Riddler, like where it's seen through his lens, like him seeing the family like spying on them with Ave Maria playing while it rolls the credits at the beginning, like stuff like that. But like to go full in on a whole movie from that perspective is immaculate.
No,
I don't know.
I agree. I
I,
agree.
I think I think it's just overall just a well-rounded movie. And I'm glad you saw the same things, because there's some people that actually I saw on Letterboxd, shout out to Letterboxd, um, that really like missed the point of the movie. It wasn't just meant to be a slasher, people there's gonna be blood and guts everywhere type of movie, which people forget that there's more to movies than just like one aspect of them. It's not the 1980s anymore. Horror movies aren't just Freddy Krueger's gonna slash you up. That's not how horror movies are anymore. If you want a good horror movie, it has to be actually have depth and plot to it. You can't just, because every type of thing about it, like every type of like killing and way to kill has been done. I feel like to some aspect. So you gotta you gotta
I
you gotta
yeah.
change it.
You know what's funny for me is I grew up watching some of them when they came out, even when Jigsaw was supposed to be dead, um, or had did died. And this movie, it was kind of, I feel like to me this movie is a personal test to people's intelligence in a way. If you watch Saw 1 and 2, and I know this takes place in between both of those, but if you watch 1 and 2, you really find that you just hate John Kramer. You're just like, dang, this guy is cruel despite the pieces of crap that he might put through torture. You you develop the normal thing you're supposed to. He's the villain. God, this guy needs to be stopped. Then when you watch this movie, you feel bad for him. And I feel like that's the test of intelligence a little bit. Can you feel bad for a guy that you know is a complete psychopath? If you can't understand things in his shoes, then I kind of feel like it shows your limited ability in intelligence a little bit. Like you have to understand your villain a bit, you know what I mean? And in this movie, it was like, I felt that, oh man, like that I feel bad for you. I don't feel like I should, but I actually feel bad for you. And I'm 100% on your side now. Do whatever you want to these people.
Yeah, and I mean, I agree with you with that. I think the whole point of the movie too was to get a better, deeper understanding of John Kramer as a character. Um, the only thing that I would say that's very odd to me about that whole movie was the timing of when this movie came out. I feel like this should have been a movie that should have come out like 6 years ago. You know.
Yeah.
Um, I think it's better late than never, though. I always say that with everything. Like, if I ever become a teacher, which is kind of the path I'm going down, to me, I think soft deadlines are better than hard deadlines because at the end of the day, if that person still had the ability to turn in the work and do the work, it's better to do it than to never do it. That's kind of my thing. You still are going to learn. Like, that's the thing. You're still going to learn from the homework even if you do it a month after it was due. So, like, I feel like punishing people for not doing it sooner is a bad thing, which is why I don't ever take movies like that. Like, for example, Black Widow. Despite the timing of Black Widow, I don't like when Black Widow came out. It did not need to come out in 2021. Despite all that, I still, because she's been dead for 2 years, but despite all that, I still think that it didn't take away from that movie being horrible. Like,
Yeah.
that movie was just bad. And when I ranked that movie, I didn't rank it off of, oh, it came out 2 years after Black Widow died in the universe. Like, no, I usually don't. I don't take that into effect. The only time I would say that actually matters, well, I feel like it doesn't, because, like, even in cases with Blade Runner where it took them like 30 years to make a new one, same with Top Gun, like, where it takes like 30 years to make a new one, those sequels are masterpieces to the originals.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Top Gun Maverick's a masterpiece. Blade Runner 2049 is a masterpiece. Like, and then both of their original movies are just as good. Like, I feel like the longer you wait to make a sequel or a trilogy out of a movie is the better. I think that's kind of like the thing with James Cameron, is why he waited 10 years to make 11 years to make a new Avatar movie. Although, man, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about Avatar 2. I don't know.
See, that's the funny part I've always wondered about. I remember when you had went to go see it before I did, because I waited till it came out digitally, and you talked about how you didn't really like it, and I watched it and I was all like, I don't know what he's talking about. I was enjoying my time in Pandora.
And see, I think the reason why I didn't like it wasn't because of the factor of, like, it took too long to come out. I feel like it was just kind of something like I didn't need to see, you know? I mean, for some people who are diehards into the Pandora universe, like of James Cameron and Avatar, absolutely, that's your movie, you know? But, like, for me, personally, like, I never was a massive fan of the first movie. I thought it was a great movie, and I thought it definitely deserved the success that it had, just because of the leaps in technology, like, to make the actual movie happen at the time that it was filmed, you know? In just the storyline itself. But, like, I was like, I could go my entire life without ever seeing, continuation of this. So that was kind of like my thing. It wasn't a timing aspect. It was more so like, even if that movie came out 3 years after, like, if that exact same movie came out 3 years after, I'd be like, oh, cool, it's not my movie. I'm probably just not going to like it. But I went and saw it because my grandma really, really wanted to see it. And then I went and saw it with my friend Josh, too. So I ended up seeing it twice. And that really let it marinate in my head. Like, I don't care. I will say this, though. The CGI was definitely one of the best of that year, though.
Yeah.
The CGI water is tough. Water physics in video games is a great example of CGI water. Trying to get water physics correct and trying to get water CGI correct. I don't know if you remember Zack Snyder's Justice League. The redoing of the puddle. Do you remember the puddle scene where what's his face, the big bad guy, he steps in the puddle, and in the original cut, the 2017 Justice League, it was crap. Like, they rushed it. It didn't look good, and, like, it was just nasty, and, like, everybody could tell, like, oh, the CGI is crap because it's a close up of a puddle being stepped in. They redid it for Justice League, and, like, that just goes to show you how the audience will feel about just certain small things like that. So that was what I was worried about going into that movie about Avatar. Was the fact of it's mainly focused on water, and water physics is hard to master at all times. It's hard to master when it's just an aspect of it, let alone the whole aspect of the movie. So, like, that it revolves around. So they actually did a good job of keeping that under check. I'm assuming they did. I can't remember. Corridor Crew has worked with the studio before. They're a VFX studio that has a YouTube channel, but there's a VFX studio that completely works with CGI water, with water physics and like people in water, things in water, stuff like that. I'm 100% assuming James Cameron probably hired them. I can't believe he's still alive. Like, I just don't think he's... Like, I never hear anything about him. Like, do you ever... The last thing I heard about James Cameron, actually, funny enough, was about Minnesota. He was in Duluth. At the same time I was in Duluth. He was at a restaurant, like, literally across the street from where I was eating at. We were eating at this dive bar when we went to Duluth. And he was eating at, like, this nice fancy restaurant across the street. And, like, everybody was, like, gathering around. I was like, Jesus, who fucking... What is Leonardo DiCaprio over there? It's close. It was James Cameron.
Oh, my gosh. If only
I literally
we
remember
been in the same place at the same time.
I know, dude. Literally, I remember telling Alan, because I was with Alan and my friend Alan. I remember, I think I told him, or maybe I didn't tell him. I don't remember. I at least I either said it out loud and maybe nobody remembers it, or I told Alan. But there was like a group of people around like this restaurant when we were walking back, and it was super rainy too. It was like super rainy. It was kind of dark, but there was like all these people at this like nice restaurant across the street, and I think I remember saying out loud like, Jesus, who's in there? Leonardo DiCaprio? Like, and then it started raining and lightning, so we like fucking sprinted back to our hotel because we didn't all the Ubers, because you know, as soon as in a, like a tourist attraction like Duluth, like as soon as like something like rain starts happening, everybody just freaking floods Uber and like taxi apps. Like, so like it would like a 3-hour wait for an Uber. So we just ran back. We sprinted, like dead sprint. But yeah, he was there. You can look it up. I think it was James Cameron Has Dinner. There was an article about it. Cameron, Minnesota.
Dude, imagine, you know, I actually forget what half of these directors look. I forget what half of these directors look like.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if I sat down next to one by accident.
3-time Oscar winner and writer James Cameron was allegedly checking out the area on Sunday. But he was in the restaurant with this lady. Yeah.
Dang, you were right across from him.
I know. It was sad.
Missed opportunity to tell him what you thought.
I don't, dude, if I ever see any of these directors in real life, even if I don't like their movies, I'm not going to tell them their shit. Like, that's just kind of rude. Like, think about it. Would you do that to somebody? Okay, unless the movie's so bad, I can only think of like 3 people in history that I would say, your movie's trash. Rian Johnson, freaking Joss Whedon, and, actually, no, I wouldn't say it to him, because that's all right. Rian Johnson, though, he ruined Star Wars for me, man. You really did. It was like a fall from grace. Like, it proved that there could be bad Star Wars movies. Okay, so people were like, okay, so here's the thing. The first 3 movies, like the prequel trilogy, right? Everybody's like, oh, they're trash, you know, they're bad. But like, people started to come around to them. Once, you know, like, it started marinating and people were like, wait, I actually get it. I was just stupid, you know? Like, by the time, like, 2011, 2012 rolled around, everybody was like, okay, yeah, the movies weren't the best, and the CGI was kind of mid, but the movies were good, you know, I guess. They were good. And then, like, we had this massive fall from grace. Like, we actually had, like, the saddest, like, fall, like, Star Wars. Episode 7 comes out, and it's like, okay, there's potential. If we can have a good 8th movie, this could be a good trilogy, you know? We could salvage this. And then, nope! Just in the dumpster. Just destroy Luke, destroy the universe. Let's just do it. Let's do it that way, you know? Ugh, man, I hate that guy. And then Joss Whedon for Justice League, because he ruined what could have been an absolutely immaculate universe.
You know,
I can't think of anybody else.
I want a good Star Wars movie.
I do. Well,
I can't wait for Rebel Moon.
I actually can't either. Well, Raven, this is a good segue to tell you that I am now directing the next trilogy of Star Wars. Dude, we'll call it
Let's
the trequel.
go.
We'll call it the trequel. The trequel series.
The trequel. Yep.
If I directed a Star Wars trilogy, it would not. I promise you, it would not be like anything. First off, it wouldn't take place during the Skywalker saga. It would take place way in the past. And I would do a trilogy on Revan. And the reason why is because Revan is a very popular character that hasn't been on the big screen at all. He's talked about in just about every single canonical version of Star Wars ever, From canon to Legends to everything, he is massive. And he fights some of the greatest Sith, and he fights some of the greatest Jedi, and we never see it. We don't have a live action like scenes of any of this. We don't even have an animated action of this. Revan's in the video game The Knights of the Old Republic for like half of a scene. So we need a trilogy of him. And to understand what because some people forget what the Star Wars universe looked like before the Skywalker series or the Skywalker saga. Like the beginning, like episodes 1 through 3, and then going into 7, 8, and 9, like that transition, like that period, like that's like the worst time in the Star Wars universe. Like that's when everything is horrible. Like before then, life was so pristine. In the world that you were living in was so pristine, and it's kind of like the fall of the Roman Empire in a way. That's kind of what it's meant to tragedy. Is you have these pristine, amazing people, you know, like this amazing, immaculate structures, everything, and slowly the people start to get more dirty, things start to get worse, and then boom, it just all falls apart, you know. And that's kind of like the whole point of that, is it's meant to mimic history for most people, but people never see what it looked like beforehand. I think it would be a good opportunity to see everything beforehand.
I would love to see a movie based off of just a Sith.
Yes.
And
well, Revan is a Sith.
Well, yeah, but like, I mean, like a full-on Sith exploration lore where he's just murdering the hell out of Jedis, but like in the style that Assassin's Creed Rogue had done for that character, where it tells you why you 100% believe that the Jedi are the bad guys.
Yeah, and I mean that's why a Palpatine series could have been really cool. Because for the most part, Palpatine was born and raised. I mean, he was born and raised evil, but he never ever saw the Jedi as good. And in his mind, Palpatine honestly believed, he knew he was doing wrong, but in his mind he knew that the Jedi were worse than him, because in his mind, you have these people that steal people from their... I mean, he's power hungry, but you have people that steal, you know, they steal children from their parents. They're literally like, I can't remember, but like, he watches in like one of the books about Palpatine when he's younger, when he's like 9 or 8, he watches Jedi come into the home and steal a baby from like this family, and like, to him, like, that was just disgusting. Like, he didn't like that. And then, you know, he also, his hatred and his, he was just amazing with the Force, but he never was allowed to use it, you know? And he was so evil to begin with. When Plagueis kind of could feel that sense, and when Darth Plagueis found him, he was like, oh, this is perfect. This kid is just it. This kid is going to be great. So then all you got to do is manipulate his mind a little bit more to say, like, this is what the Jedi are. This is why they're evil. And so from his perspective, he never understood that the Jedi were good. Even to the point when he would see Jedi do good actions. Like, for example, when Anakin has that thought of not killing Dooku, in his mind, Palpatine's like, okay, Dooku just literally has destroyed this man's life and almost killed Obi-Wan, and yet he's still contemplating not killing him. You know, like, that scared Palpatine, because he thought that maybe Anakin couldn't have been turned to the dark side, because there was no way he thought he wasn't going to kill Dooku. And if he wouldn't have killed Dooku, that would have never set that path. It would have showed that he was still committed to being to light, and Palpatine would have been screwed. And then he would have had to show up with Asajj Ventress or Darth Maul to try and take over, which would have ended horribly. Also, by the way, for most people who don't know, before I know this segment's running a little long, but we're going to talk about this whole next other segment that's 30 minutes long is going to be to the Killer of the Flower Moon. Anyways, so for those who don't know, Plagueis never actually wanted to take over the Jedi. He never wanted to destroy the Jedi, like how, you know how Darth Sidious, like, you know, Palpatine, he destroys the Jedi, like crushes them, gets them out of everything. All Plagueis wanted, and for most of like the 1,000 years of the rule of 2, which was like essentially where there could only be 2 Sith, all they wanted was power. They didn't care if the Jedi lived, died, or whatever they did. They just wanted to be in control. They just wanted power. They wanted to be in high places with a lot of money and have a lot of power and be able to do bad things, you know. Palpatine was the one that introduced this idea of old Sith ways where they wanted to kill the Jedi and destroy them, you know. And so a lot of people forget that too, is Palpatine was like, before that, the reason why the Sith never took over or never got a chance to take over earlier for like that 1,000-year period is because they didn't want to. The Sith had already been in places of high power. There had been like 5 chancellors that were Sith for like for during the period of the High Republic, like during Yoda's time. And in fact, Yoda actually knew one of these Sith was a chancellor, but the chancellor literally, when they confronted him about it, he goes, "Look, you guys can do your thing. I just want to be the chancellor and I want to have money." And Yoda, instead of this was when Yoda like had his kind of like this is what Yoda failed to do, is instead of vanquishing that evil like Jedi are supposed to, they allowed him, as long as he was under constant supervision by the Jedi. And that's why the Jedi actually got into the temple where they were, and why the temple is actually the same place as the Chancellor's palace. So that's why that whole thing is the way it is, where like the Jedi are constantly in politics. That was why, so they could keep an eye on the Sith, because the Sith were technically running everything. But life under that Sith during that Chancellor's period was actually great. Not like Palpatine's, where everybody was suffering and broke. Like, because his was an empire where he had all the wealth. It was like a communism where he had everything and everybody gives everything to him. But, you know, nobody else has anything. That was how Palpatine rolled. Well, the other people, they were just like, I just want power. I just want to live, you know, have money. All right, sorry for the lesson in history of Star Wars. You could write a whole book. Actually, there's been multiple books. I shouldn't say that. There's been multiple, hundreds of books written on the history of Star Wars. Anyways, when we come back, we have a full 30-minute segment on Killers of the Flower Moon. So, Raven, finally, this time, for real, are you ready?
Yeah.
All right, when we come back, Killers of the Flower Moon. And we are back. We are frickin' back with the Beastcast. Our final segment. The one thing we've been waiting to talk about all day. We've been kind of beating around the bush. We have been waiting and waiting and waiting. It's finally here. The Osage Reign of Terror. The Killers of the Flower Moon. Directed by Martin Scorsese. Raven. This is huge.
This is huge.
So.
It's huge for a lot of people.
Yes. Now, Raven's bringing a lot more to the table than I am here. Normally when we do these movie reviews, these new movies, usually, you know, he steps back and lets me do a lot of the talking. But today, he's got a lot he wants to talk about this movie. So I think I'm going to step back a tiny bit. I'll give my, 6 cents and my give everything about it 6 cents, 2 cents. I'll give my whole thing. But I want Raven to start and really emphasize the meaning of this movie and the whole story itself. Go ahead, Raven.
All right, so the meaning of this movie is one that I got to learn personally through a girlfriend of mine that I've had now for 13 years. She lives in Tulsa, Oklahoma. She didn't live there at first when we met, but her family originated from there and they had moved back. Side information. Anyway, so she's Osage. Probably one of the higher percentages of Osage. There's no pure blood Osages anymore. There's actually only 6 families that are. Yep. But she is as high of a percentage as you can get. Her mother is 50%. She's somewhere around 33. But she was raised in the ways of her tribe as best as they possibly could in today's era. Osages, back in the early 1900s, where this movie takes place, their land, this beautiful prairie land that is beautiful for cow grazing, but not so good for other forms of vegetation, is covered in oil everywhere. Yep. And this movie covers a topic that we actually hid from our history books. Unless you were specifically seeking out what happened during this movie, you will never know about it and you've never heard about it. Mm-hmm. Because the Osage are probably one of the most powerful Native American tribes that did exist. They're strong. What the movie couldn't depict was that they were actually tall, very tall. And as the movie did say, they were probably one of the most handsome Native Americans you could ever find. They were beautiful people. Yep. They're called Children of the Middle Waters originally. because they had came down from Ohio following the Mississippi River, and they had this little ritual they did where they would throw a spear in the air, and if it came down and stuck in the soil, they wouldn't live there. They needed to find a place where the spear wouldn't stick, and they eventually came all the way down to Oklahoma. They bought a piece of land from the other tribes that were there for about 25, I believe it was 25 cents or $25. And they threw the spear up, it didn't stick, and they decided this was the land they were supposed to be.
Yep.
And thus the tribe grew to not really big numbers, but sizable numbers until the white man came along and oil was found. This, I had to, through the 13 years being with my girlfriend, she would always tell me the story of the Reign of Terror, and she would make sure to tell me everything I needed to know about her people. And it's a very sad story that this Reign of Terror that happened, that the movie covers, actually wiped out most of her people.
Yeah.
In the movie, it's sad to see that they didn't tell you how many were actually killed.
Yes.
It was actually over 200.
Yeah, and they only focus on the people around the family, but yes.
My girlfriend was happy to see this movie made. Here's a funny part about it. I always say funny as like something nice to know, so I'm not really saying humorous. The nice thing to know is that Martin Scorsese had actually written the script for this based off of the book, but he had, of course, his own little Hollywood twist to it.
Mm-hmm.
But then he was allowed to go see the Osage tribe chiefs. Mm-hmm. And after talking with them, he actually rewrote a lot of the script, and then realized that he couldn't do this story any justice without trying to bring in the Osage members themselves. Now, sadly, because of the way things are, the people in the movie aren't 100% Osage. Most of them are Mohican and other tribes mixed in because they wanted to revive their people. But they got the majority that they could possibly get for this movie to be in here, which is nice. He did, after coming back from the movie, which was a phenomenally 3-hour and 20-minute movie, I immediately talked to my girlfriend about it, and I went through everything. She's read the book, obviously. She loves the book, although there are a few things the book doesn't cover that happened in history that are very minor, and she says they're not really that important to go over because the book still gets the message of what happened. So I went over the movie because I'm like, look, I can't judge if this movie is good or not aside from knowing that it was a well-done Scorsese film. Yep. Because if it misses the point of the history, then it's not a good film. Mm-hmm. And so I went over from start to finish everything about the movie, and I'm glad to tell you, Jay, and the people that everything I mentioned was followed historically accurate to the letter of both the history and the book.
That's immaculate. So this is something that's been huge, and I want to talk about. This is not only do I think that as Minnesotans, we are surrounded by a very rich Native American history. We are around the Dakota, the Lakota, and the Sioux in Minnesota. 3 very rich historical tribes that not only had a lot of fights with the white people, but also had a lot of deals and things made with them. And their history actually lives on a lot more than a lot of other Native Americans, which is kind of sad. But that's because the people of this area wanted to know more about them, while in other regions they wanted to get rid of them, which is nice. This is one of those cases where they wanted to get rid of them. They didn't want them there. They wanted that land, that oil for themselves more than anything. The white people did that came in there. And it's not just a sign of greed. Here's the thing: not all white people are bad. And even at that time, by that time that would have been about the 1920s. Not all white people are bad. And this is proven that even the United States government is helping, to get justice for these people. If this would have happened 60 years before this, like let's say like just, you know what, not even 6 years, let's just say right after the Civil War, there would have been no United States help whatsoever. Even with the most, you know, liberal president that you could have had. You could have had Abraham Lincoln, which, by the way, he didn't care a lot about for Native Americans, which is really sad. He actually gave the order to hang over 17 innocent Native Americans in Minnesota, Lakota, in New Ulm, Minnesota, which is very close to Mankato, Minnesota, in the southeast. So he wasn't that good about that. So like, it would have been a different story. But because of the time period, you actually get justice, which is nice. Which I'm glad that the United States government actually decided to step in and actually start investigating this, because it could have been completely, they could have been completely alone. And if they would have been completely alone, we probably would have never even heard about this whatsoever. You know, we don't know about the thousands of people that died over the course of the 150 years before that the people were trying to, you know, get the land from them. You know, like there's a lot of stories that have gone unknown and undiscovered. And it's just like with their language, you know, their language is dead. Like most Native American languages are dead. There's only very few people that know them. I mean, for example, I was trying to go into Google and try to just Google like Native American languages, and they don't even have them on Google Translate, because almost 70% of Native American languages are linguistic and not written, which means they don't have a written form. I don't remember if the Osage people were like that. Do you know if the Osage people were only a linguistic language, or if they had a written form?
They are only a linguistic language. They don't have an alphabet. Mostly only symbols to represent what they want to say.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's
like hieroglyphs.
That's like the big thing about Native American, and that's why a lot of their heritage has sadly, you know, gone undiscovered. Luckily, we have had some very amazing people that have been willing to work with Native Americans in the past when it was kind of frowned upon to do that stuff, and learn their history and learn their culture and learn their ways and learn about the stuff that you know, what they believed in, what they know, what the things that they do, which is fascinating. But this movie was, I honestly, like you said, Martin Scorsese. The thing about Scorsese is with his movies, there's a lot of aspects that always get kind of, you know, made for Hollywood. Wolf of Wall Street, I'm looking at it right now, is a perfect example. Wolf of Wall Street, yes, is very accurate to the novel. However, there's so many things in the Wolf of Wall Street movie that are done just for pure entertainment, you know, to make the movie more funny, that didn't actually happen. And that was what I was scared about for Martin Scorsese. I didn't think he was going to make it funny, but I figured he was going to throw in something to make it more tension-wise for the movie. And to my knowledge, in what you said, he stayed very accurate. And I think
he stayed extremely accurate.
And I think this is great storytelling, and I think this is great for young filmmakers and movie makers who are out there. If you're listening or if you're watching this, the one thing you should take note from something like Scorsese, and the same thing from Christopher Nolan, is you can make accurate historical movies and historical pieces that are also entertaining. Okay? Yes, they're longer, but think about it. That 3 hours and 20 minutes, that 3-hour movie of Oppenheimer, you sat through that entire movie, and you were always invested in that movie. Why? Because you can make these entertaining. You don't need to add fake things into the history to make it entertaining. That's why historical fiction exists. Historical fiction exists because you want to make a story out of history. You're not trying to make history out of a story. You're trying to make a story out of history. And these aren't that. These are almost like biopics in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Which is fascinating. I also find it really fascinating that the acting choice, the actors, Leonardo DiCaprio, actually, I don't know how accurate it was, but he, to my knowledge, learned how to speak a little bit of this language. Right?
Yes.
Yeah. And to me, that just shows why he's just a great actor. To actually go out of your way to study and learn something like that, to get into that, you know, type of depth of a character is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
That you're willing to learn a whole different language that's not even that well known. That would be hard to learn.
The movie needed him to learn that to make it accurate.
Yes.
To the story of Molly and Ernesto that we see in the movie.
Yeah, and the acting choice is amazing too. I mean, other than Leo, Lily Gladstone. For those of you who don't know, I was reading an article about this morning. Um, Gladstone, by the way, she was born in Montana. She's of like Blackfoot heritage, those Native Americans in the Northwestern. So she is Native American. But the thing is about her is she actually was going to quit acting. She had actually signed up for some sort of course, like a college course, to go back to college in 2020. Because she figured her acting career was done. She didn't like it. She didn't have fun with it. She didn't really have any opportunity. She wasn't doing what she wanted to do. And then Martin Scorsese actually she got an email talking about that Martin Scorsese was interested in her work and interested in having her play one of the lead roles in an upcoming movie that he was going to start workshopping, and he made it. I think this is his newest movie. I think other than The Irishman, right? The Irishman was his last movie, right? In 2019?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it was.
So it would have been his next film. So he was starting to work on his next film. So Scorsese said, I think you'd be perfect for this role, and we just want to capture this. And she reluctantly agreed. But she ended up finding that she loved it and actually found a whole new age of acting. She found a whole new wave of inspiration for acting. And because of this, she's now in the talks for winning, best female performance of 2023.
Oh yeah, she deserves it. She did an amazing performance in this film.
I think she will win it. I mean, I don't know who else did a better job, likewise, for best female performance of a lead actor in 2023. I think she 100% will win it, and if so, I think this will be one of the first times that a Native American woman has won that award too, which would be immaculate too. But then you have Robert De Niro. I think he captures William King Hale perfectly. Like, he is the perfect fit for like a character like that. Like, he has that character. I feel like he has like the character down to a tooth and nail of like how
he does. He does.
Like how it works,
He actually, here was the best part. For me, it wasn't even if he was doing a good job as an actor. It was, out of all the stories my girlfriend has told me about William Hale and how he deceived the Osage people and the things he would say to them that, are passed down even to this day through her tribe, and just how he was like the snake in the grass, and the personal things that he would say. When I was watching the movie, it wasn't me going, oh, Robert De Niro is really pulling off William Hale. It was, he somehow matches exactly how I've heard him be.
Yeah, and that's what Robert De Niro always does well too. Is Robert De Niro, he can get into a role and he can just play it like I don't ever see Robert De Niro as Robert De Niro. Like, I don't ever think like in my mind like, oh my God, Robert De Niro is doing such a good job when I'm watching the film. No, I see the character, and that's when you have a good actor. Like Leonardo DiCaprio does the same thing. And like other actors that do very good is like Christian Bale. Christian Bale's really good at becoming the character. Like think about just how different his performance is. Like here, I'm not gonna shit on Tom Holland here, but let's talk about Tom Holland for a second. For example, Tom Holland. When you think of Tom Holland as an actor, you think of the same type of scenario every single time, same type of acting, right? You think of the same type of thing. The goofy, quirky young man who's always going to find a way to get through, his tough shit or his his hardship, but also, do it in a funny way that's also, everybody loves him, something like that. That he plays like the same character sort of in a way. And maybe Tom Holland can play more than just that, but that's all I've seen him, and that's all people want to see from him, Nathan Drake, like Spider-Man, stuff like that. And then you look at a guy like Leonardo DiCaprio or Christian Bale or Robert De Niro, where you can put them into multiple different roles that are so different and unique to each other, and they can play it perfectly where you're not even thinking that's who that is. Like, oh, that's just Leonardo DiCaprio. No, that's that character. That's Ernest Burkhart,
Yeah, good acting.
Yeah, like you think of that too. Also, I want to point out the spectacle, the small spectacle in this movie that I want to point out that was amazing. Shout out to Brendan frickin' Fraser, dude. Shout out to Brendan Fraser.
When he showed up in that courtroom, I was just like,
whoa. Yeah.
Dude, whoa, hey, what's up? And he
My
did a
client.
phenomenal job.
Is this man your lawyer? I don't know. I am his lawyer. And then he's
Dude,
like,
he did such a great job.
I know. I'm glad that he's starting to make a comeback from acting. He was bullied. I don't know if you know this, but he's not slow, but he's kind of like, what's the word? He's kind of, sort of semi-mentally challenged, I think, in a way. And he was getting taken advantage of really badly, like, in the past. After, like, let's see. I think it was after, it would have been that film that he did in 2014 or, like, 2013. I'm trying to find it. Oh, maybe it was, I don't remember. It was some movie he did in 2013 or something like that. After that, his spouse, or no, was it his spouse? I don't remember. But he was getting taken advantage of by somebody close to him. And he kind of fell away from acting, and he kind of didn't want to act anymore. And he's just a really wholesome guy, though. And I'm glad that he's finally coming back to acting, which is awesome. And he's getting big roles like the whale in Killers of the Flower Moon. That was awesome.
Now I have to do some justice here, okay?
All right.
Because it's upon request of my girlfriend. She had asked me a very specific question about this movie. That was kind of an odd question, but we think similar, and we're in the knee deep of stuff together. She asked me, was there a scene that made sure to point out that William Hale was a Freemason? And I was like, yes, there actually is a scene. It's actually one of the most comical scenes in the movie, where Leonardo DiCaprio is getting spanked by Robert De Niro in the Freemason room.
Yep.
I don't remember. Do you remember that scene?
Yes, I remember that scene.
Now, the reason why she asked this was you might not get public search results about this, but the Osage started to realize after the conviction of William Hale that the reason why everybody in Fairfax was covering up the murders of the Osage and how William Hale had gotten these people to these prominent people, like the doctors prescribing the poison and the sheriff's office doing no investigations, and the other people who had ran the town, they had figured out and realized that all of them worked together easily because every single one of them was a Freemason, conspiracying together to steal the head rights for their oil money.
Yep.
And that's when they had realized that Freemasons were evil. And I have no problem saying that they are, because they are.
Yeah.
The movie also has about 4 other lines, but we won't go into those. Yeah. But she was happy to see that there was a Freemason connection. And funny enough, after that scene, if you remember scenes or are able to remember them as the movie is continuing, you actually see the Freemason symbols everywhere in the movie. For each, there's one in the doctor's office, there's one in the sheriff's office, there's one obviously in William Hale's house when Leonardo DiCaprio goes in.
Yep.
It's everywhere. And she was happy to know that was in the movie because she knows in today's times how some people don't want to be historically correct if it means they have to be politically incorrect. And it was nice to see the connection there with that, and she was happy about it. So should we get into what the movie's about?
Hold on. Before we get into what the movie's about, I want to just tie off of that one last little thing. And this is something that Scorsese and Quentin Tarantino do good, is their movies, and this is why their movies are really good, and this is another thing that young directors and filmmakers should take note of, is the reason why their films are so good is because there's always something going on in the background, in a subplot, that takes a deeper understanding or something of a deeper meaning. There's always some deeper meaning. For example, like take movies like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where like the whole point of the movie, if you just watched it without ever understanding any of the Charles Manson murders, or any of that stuff, you just be like, oh, this is a funny movie. But then once you understand that and you rewatch it, you get a whole deeper, different understanding of the movie. This is the same way. Scorsese does this all the time with his movies, and so does Quentin Tarantino. So for young film directors and filmmakers, this is a great thing to do, is to always have these subtle historical accuracies in your movies to make it have a deeper meaning, which gives it another reason to be watched, to give it a different meaning to be watched after the first watch. That's one of the best things about their movies. That's the one thing I wanted to say. So yeah, we can get into what the movie's about.
What the movie's about is the Osage people, because of their oil land. The movie points this out. They were very smart into not letting the white man control everything. The only thing that the white man contributes to is obviously getting the oil out of the ground, but they control where every drop of it went, and they made sure to understand the white man's law and making sure that they owned every drop of it.
Yep.
Because of this, it caused animosity between your normal thugs and thieves and even rich guys who were around the area, that these Osages were getting richer than those in Dubai off of doing absolutely no work at all, but simply because it was their land.
And they were getting mad about it.
And they were getting mad about it, yes. And what they would do was they would trick some of the women into marrying them to then kill them later to receive their head rights through law. Like, you know how the husband gets, or even a wife would get possessions of their spouse when they died, everything goes to them. Well, that would be the same thing with the head rights. Luckily enough, my girlfriend still has her head rights. Her family still has her head rights. The white man who had married into their family not that many long ago, they stayed pure until about the 60s, 40s. They married into the Moncravey family line, but the man that she had married, or the woman that the man had married, because it was the man that was the Osage, had married a woman, and right off the bat pissed her off by creating kind of like a prenup that essentially says she'll own nothing of the head rights if something happens to him, and that it automatically goes to whatever children they have. And that's how he was able to preserve it for his family, and now my girlfriend has it. And yeah, it can make somebody jealous, because I was, during a lot of the time, I would ask, when do you get the money and how much is it? Well, every 3 months, it's around between $10,000 to $15,000 just handed to you. And it depends on the gas prices sometimes. So obviously during Trump's era, when he had made gas a lot cheaper, the check wasn't as much because things were being sold at lower costs per barrel. And then of course Biden gets into office, oil and gas go way up, more money, yay.
Just that, and also right now, to be fair, we're not buying oil as much from across these seas as we were, like in the Middle East, because of the tension. So we're drilling our own oil too. So that also is like from North Dakota, places like that. So some of that oil money too is also they're actually, in theory, should be getting less oil money now as well, because a lot of that oil is getting drilled from other Native American tribal land, which would be in the Northwest, mainly like North Dakota. Montana has a little bit. Wyoming is huge right now, and so they're pumping oil from there again. So actually, despite the oil prices going up, she's going to see an increase in her money, but in general, in theory, she could have probably made more money if we would have kept buying from overseas oil. But yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
And so the movie is during a very hard time where people were, even without marrying, were just outright murdering some of them, and just to get rid of them, because less around means head rights have nowhere to go if they don't have kids, and thus the head rights will either go to another tribe member, or it actually goes directly to the state, funny enough, or to the tribes, not the state. The state, this was Indian land at the time, so it wasn't a state. It was more of it went to those in charge, and then when it was split amongst them. So once it did, and once they were able to get rid of, especially the men, that was a sad part. that this movie, even if it doesn't directly say, it indirectly shows it, that they made sure to get rid of the men so that their head rights got split amongst the other natives,
Yep.
so that eventually it was only the women who had it, and then they marry the women and steal it. Which is this movie's very sad plot of how they would marry women. They, through the help of William Hale, they were told they had diabetes, and they were given false insulin that was actually a form of poison that would poison them over time until they eventually died. And it went by the guise of wasting disease when it actually wasn't.
Yeah. And another thing too, just to talk about the amount of evil that Hale is he was also, on a lot of those Native Americans, he was trying to collect insurance money by killing them too. And he and this is just to go show you how he's just so greedy. He's trying to get money any way he can off of these people, whether it be from killing them for insurance money, stuff like that. It's just disgusting. And I'm glad that it's getting shown in a way. Because I had actually never really heard too much about it. I knew that these people existed. Another thing that's kind of odd to me is I thought for the region that this movie takes place in, I thought this area of the United States would be more packed to go see this movie, because it is this region and it is about these people, of this region. So it was not. It was the only other people in the theater. And I mean, once again, I'm in a very odd town, so, it's maybe niche for me, but it was just two guys who were talking about the book because they'd read the book and they really wanted to see the movie adaptation. But like I kind of almost made me sad in a little bit just because of that. Another thing that I thought was really odd is there's real life correlations to still make the movie entertaining too. Do you remember the scene? This is the one thing I wanted to talk about. Do you remember the scene of the guy where he's talking about where he marries and the woman dies? Or no, so he marries and he wants to adopt the foster kids. And he literally tells his lawyer, and he's like, now, if I kill these foster kids, does that oil money go to me? and he was like, are you saying that you are going to kill these foster kids? And he's like, well, not if I don't get their money. It's like, what?
Funny enough, that's in the book.
Yeah, and I know, and that to me is just like so comedic. It's like, what in the frickin' world? Like, it's just sad, like how all of this stuff is like just so generalized for them. Like it's just like that. I also love I just love the cinematography too. The cinematography of this movie
it's amazing.
Was just immaculate. It was Scorsese. He just knows how to direct a film. He knows where things need to be, how they need to be done, and I honestly think if Lily Gladstone doesn't win the best performing lead female actress, I'm gonna be very upset because she deserves it.
I'll start another Tulsa race riot.
Jesus, oh my gosh, but yeah,
that's where Osages were killed. You were talking about your area of the woods, in that you would expect the theater to be packed. Good news. My girlfriend hasn't gone to see the film yet because, one, she forgot what date it was coming out, and two, every theater is booked.
Nice, that's huge. And also when you have somebody like Scorsese directing it and you have a big name attached to it, people are going to go see it just for that too. And DiCaprio, which is great. De Niro, same way. Like my grandma, she was like, I don't even know what it's about, but I wanted to go see Scorsese's last film, and it's like, yeah. So I'm kind of glad that of all people that chose to do it, it was him. Or Nolan would have done a good job at it too, because there's not a lot of CGI that needed to be done.
Honestly, I don't think so.
You don't think Nolan would have done a good job with this movie?
No, Martin Scorsese has had a passion for this topic.
That's true.
He never got around to being able to fully bring it about, because to this day, even as sad as it is, when he has wanted to go to companies and be like, hey, I want to make this movie now, they look at the premise of the movie and they look at it and they go, nobody cares about that. No. Well, because of his success with The Irishman, he went to Apple and was all like, I'm making this movie now. Give me money. And they were like, of course. Why not?
That's
Let's
the one
go.
thing. That's the one thing I gotta say. I honestly love that Apple will give these opportunities and voices to stories that aren't really heard as much, and then Apple will also pay enough money to get big actors onto it. I don't know if you
Hmm.
remember the movie. It's got. I'll find the name of it here in a second, but it's got what's his name in it. Hold on. Gosh, I'm blanking. God, I'm blanking. Oh my god. Oh my god. Hold on. Okay, so not this movie, not Django Unchained here, but hold on. I'm gonna go down a rabbit hole here. So first off, we're going Samuel L. Jackson. Then we're gonna go here. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? I'll find it in just a second. Can't find it. He was in Split. What the heck?
Yeah, he
Really?
was.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I can't find it. Okay, Samuel L. Jackson, Apple film. He was in this
He
film
was
I
in
watched.
Split. He was in Split because he was in the movie Glass.
The Banker. There it is. This movie I watched way back in 2019. That's why I was blanking. It's been 4 years. The Banker was. It's about like a this guy who so this guy Samuel L. Jackson plays a banker. And this guy wants to own this black dude wants to own in this property, and he wants to start making like he wants to renovate it because he lives there with his wife, and he's like, God, this sucks, and I want to renovate this and buy it and make it better, so people can live here and actually enjoy living here. So they end up like black people weren't allowed to own banks or weren't allowed to own property, so they actually pretended to have this white guy own it, and it was like a whole big story, and then they ended up getting jailed for it at the time, for owning it. But they actually secretly took all their money beforehand. That's why it's called the Banker. Is they pretended to own banks. They pretended they owned this bank, and then they essentially ran it through this bank. So when the government tried to seize their millions of dollars that they had got, from their property, they had the money, and they just moved out of the United States. They moved to like I can't remember if they moved to like Puerto Rico or if they moved to somewhere, but they moved somewhere down south, and just lived lived a good life. I thought that was kind of funny. That movie was great, and it's based on a true story too. Apple does films like that, and so I'm glad that they gave him an opportunity to make a movie like this. And also, DiCaprio and De Niro would literally do anything for Scorsese, so that was another reason why they were in this film. So it was just great that all of them got put together to make an actually good film. And I'm kind of glad that these films are starting to become more popular because it means more of them are going to start coming around. I think the success of Oppenheimer and of this film and I'm assuming the multitude of success that this film is going to have is going to push people to make more of these realistic, accurate bio documentaries, like biopics that are
Mhm.
got good actors, good cinematography, good plot, still is enjoyable to watch. I think if more of these come around, I think cinema will be awesome. I think I would love it to have these type of movies mixed in. Because
Yes.
we should know our own history. And it's kind of sad that as Americans, you don't even know the own history of something so bad that happened to people.
Yeah. Which is why a lot of people like my girlfriend found the idea of this film being made by somebody as prominent as Martin Scorsese very emotionally, uplifting,
Yeah.
because it's kind of like this is a travesty that happened to her people 100 years ago, and nobody knows about it, cares about it, and nobody has even bothered to even before now make a movie of it.
Yeah. And I think, okay, so rating this movie, I think I got to give this a 9 out of 10. I think it was a great movie. It's not Scorsese's best work. It's very close, so. It is very, very close. I think the reason that bumps this up too, it is because of the historical accuracy of this movie. Also bumps it up in that he actually went out of his way and made this movie. It's definitely some of his best work. It is high up there. Definitely 9 out of 10. Raven, what would you give this movie overall?
Before I give the rating, there was one funny thing I had to mention. That the only thing not accurate in the movie, which is a minor detail, was when Bill Smith's and Rita's house had blew up, the house explosion.
Yeah.
The only inaccurate part of this was, according to an eyewitness, Bill was still alive, but he was right next to his burning mattress. And in the movie, the burning mattress is in the tree.
Yeah.
That's the only inaccuracy.
Okay.
Which is funny.
That is funny, actually.
That's the only inaccuracy is a mattress. Anyways, I'm alongside of you. It's a 9 out of 10. I don't agree with it not being his best work. I just agree with that it's amazing, and you will not feel. You will not feel the 3 hour and 20-minute runtime. I actually didn't even know.
Yeah, I didn't realize how long it was. There was never a time too where I was like, dang, this movie's taking forever, you know? I never felt like that. I was always like, oh, there's just something happening. I want to see what happens next, you know? You don't think it's some of Scorsese's best work, though? I don't think it's his best film, but I think it's at least in his, like, top 5.
I would think it's close to his best. I think it's actually second.
You think so? Wolf of Wall Street better or The Irishman?
The Irishman is better. The Wolf of Wall Street is probably 4th on the list.
So for me, okay, well, this isn't a Martin Scorsese ranking, but a quick ranking of all of his films. I'll just do my top, 3, I guess. So my top 3 would probably be Wolf of Wall Street, Irishman, and Goodfellas, probably. Those 3. I would say that it's definitely, 4th or 5th.
Either way, it's a good film.
It is a great film either way.
Yeah, I knew it was 3 hours when I went to go see it. I forget the exact amount. I knew it was 3 hours. But when I was in the movie, I was like, okay, I remember The Irishman. Okay, I enjoyed The Irishman, but there was still a point, maybe it was because it was on Netflix, where I was like about maybe 2 hours into it, where I said, okay, I actually need to get up and grab some food and a pizza or something. Let me take a quick bathroom break and then let me continue. Mm-hmm. With this movie, again, it could be because I saw it in the theater. I was actually like, okay, it's going to be 3 hours. If you can watch the Avengers Endgame movie, you can watch this. Let's go, let's see. And then, I was like, the movie got to the court scene where Brandon Fraser showed up. And then the beautiful ending with Martin Scorsese himself on screen talking into the microphone about the basically the prologue of what happened after the court case. And then the movie ended, and I was like, hold on, I thought there was still an hour left to go. It's only been 2. And I turn on my phone because I turned it all the way off, and I look at it, oh no, it's been 3 hours and 20 minutes. Okay.
Oh my. Well, with that, Raven, any last words about The Killers of the Flower Moon before we send it off?
Thank you, Martin Scorsese, for taking your time to make something historically correct that most people would have glossed over or rushed through to be a virtue signaler, rather than telling an actual history and have the real people involved in showing their actual culture and language.
I agree. Yeah, seriously, if this is his last work, I think I would be proud as a film director for something so perfect to be, something so good. I shouldn't say perfect, but something so, pristine, so accurate, so well done, so well received. On Letterboxd, this literally doesn't have a single 1-star review at all. It has been reviewed over 1,000. There's over 1,000 current reviews of the movie, and maybe at this point now there's a 1-star, but there was there was 90% 4 and 5 stars. I think this would be a great work in piece to end on, and I think it's a service more than it is anything. And I think this will actually go down as one of the films that people could watch in a class, of Scorsese's work. And I think that's immaculate. I think that's good. With that, thank you guys for watching. Seriously, our numbers. So we've drawn away from YouTube numbers, but we've increased immensely on Apple, Spotify, and Google. So thank you guys so much for listening. We appreciate it. We understand that these sometimes go long, sometimes they don't. This one's a little less long, but I think it is perfectly fine the way it is. So thank you guys for listening, and we hope to. Raven, how many stars should they give us on everywhere they can rate us?
5.
5 stars. Give us a 5-star review. All right. Thank you guys for listening, and we will see you next week. Bye-bye.